In this lesson, we're going to tweak the V-Ray fur to get the look that we're going for the pilly. So this is where we left off in the previous lesson, and this is the render that we did. So now let's go ahead and start tweaking the V-Ray fur. So to tweak the V-Ray fur, just select the hair and now open up the attribute editor, and let's go over these and tweak them. So this is here we can tweak the length of the hair. So I'll just zoom in, and for the cell I'm going for a really short kind of hair, so something around 0.1. Again, feel free, you can go for this make the pilly or the hairy tentacles as big as you want, but for this for the look that I'm going for, I'm just going for those small hairy looking surface on the cell membrane. For the thickness, I'm going for a really small. I'm not going to add gravity. Gravity, if you look at this, I'm just going to make this for the example just to make it clear for you guys so you can see it. Gravity will make these guys look down, and just turn off gravity and go up to, I don't know, minus something like this. This will get, if you go up to 0, you'll see these guys will stand up. So I think something around, you can leave it to 3 if you want. Something around this is good. For the bend, this will add some bend to the hair. You can leave it straight, but I would add some bend to it just to make it look more natural. Something around 0.5 is good. Taper, we won't need taper because these are going to be really thin, so we don't have any large thickness to it. This will just add some taper to the ends of each hair. For the sides, this is the size of each. So think of each hair is like a cylinder, and it's like 3 sides of the cylinder, and the knots are all the parts that make the vertical subdivision. And how many subdivisions does this have? So this is good if you want to add a lot of bend to it. So I think 5 is good. Now we're gonna play around with the direction, with the variances, and this will add, just so we can add more natural look, and we have each hair looking into other, so we don't have this straight artificial look to it. Just go something around 5.6, around that. Length variance, again, just so we get a variety of in the lengths of the hair, something around 0.7. Again, feel free to play around with these settings to get the look that you're going for. Thick variance, I'm going to leave thickness. I'm going to leave that because, as I said, these are going to be really thin. So it's like 0.010. They're going to be really small. So we need them just to make a really subtle effect. Now for the gravity, I'm going to tone these just so we can get a more interesting look. So we have a couple looking down, like the gravity affecting them more, a couple less affected by the gravity, and so on. And for distribution, I'm going to, for each face, on each face, I'm going to add 3. I think it's enough. And let's go ahead and do a test render, and let's see how this looks. All right. So as I said, I'm going for a really subtle effect. So here you can see the hairy surface of the cell membrane on top of the pilly mesh. But if you look close to this, you're gonna see, like, on top here we have more hair than on the side, and the same thing happens on the bottom. And this is because the distribution of the hair happens per face. All right. And this we added this to a sphere, and usually spheres, if you go ahead and press Shift I to isolate the sphere, you know, see, usually spheres have a lot of faces when it comes to the poles, and this is why we're getting more more distribution here, and we have more hair on the top and bottom poles of the sphere. All right, so how do we go about fixing this? I mean, we can try and create a sphere with no poles, maybe like a subdivision sphere, but that means recreating the sphere. It might not be a problem to recreate a sphere, because it's, by the end of the day, it's just a simple primitive. But think if you have like a really complex shape, and it's not that easy to go back and just remake it just for the V-Ray to work on it. So, but there is a solution for this. So the first thing to do is go back and press Shift I again, just so we can get out of the isolation mode. You can do that the same thing. You can select the sphere. It's the same thing that you go when you go to show isolate, select view selected, but the shortcut to it is Shift I. Alright, now to fix this is we just have to do a couple of small steps. So we go to Window, Outliner, again go to Show All, and here we're going to have the cell and we have the Pili mesh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Pili mesh and the cell membrane and group these by hitting Command G or Control G if you're on a PC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my rendering camera, and go to Panels, Perspective, Render Camera, and I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to rotate the group, not each one, so both of them move. And I'm going to make the poles to face the camera. Alright, now if we go ahead and do a test render, I'm going to close up the outliner, keep this, and do a render. Alright, so this is what we get. So why did we go ahead and just rotate the spheres? So we did that because this way, if we look into perspective, if we look to the side, just gonna show edges. If you look to this side, you're gonna see that here we have an even distribution of faces. Rather on the poles, but on the poles we do have a lot of hairs because we do have a lot of faces. But when we rotated this, we're facing a new problem. Because the poles now are facing the camera, we're getting some hairy splotches facing the camera. Although the Pili shader, if you look into the hypershade, the Pili shader does have an ambient, a Pili sampler linked to the Pili opacity with a facing ratio, but no matter how low you put the opacity, you're still going to get those splotches in the middle. But there is a solution for that. So to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to use a mask. And to create a mask, we're just going to have to create a simple ramp. Let's head over into the hypershade, and I'm going to go into the just close up the attribute, press space to expand the work area, and under 2D textures, I'm just going to go ahead and clear the graph. Under 2D textures, go ahead and select a ramp. For this ramp, I'm going to keep it really simple. It's going to have just 2 colors. Again, this is a mask, and for mask and bumps, I think you're used to it now. We're using black and white colors. All right, so this is going to be black, this is going to be white, and this is going to be black. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and link this into a Maya Lambert. Right, I'm going to drag and drop this into the default. All right, why am I doing this? Well, we're doing this just to visualize easier where we want the hair to grow, and where do we want the hair to be visible, and where do we want the hair to be invisible. So we can take out the guesswork. The best way to do this is to go ahead and just add the mask that we're going to use to mask the hair on a Lambert, and then just right click, assign material to selection. If we go ahead and press select texture or press 6, we're going to see, and just remove edges, we're going to see the mask on the on the sphere, and this makes it easier for us to visualize and see what to tweak to make this to achieve the look that we're going for. Alright, and now we see that the ramp is repeating itself, although I added only one line. To fix this, just select the pillar mesh to make sure it's the pillar mesh. I have pillar mesh. Under create UVs, no, edit UVs, select UV texture editor. Right, I'm going to resize this a bit. Now zoom out, and you're going to see that this is really big. And this is because we converted from a NURBS into a poly. And now just right click, select UVs, go ahead and select all the UVs, and just press R on your keyboard and just resize these so they fit into the texture area. You can resize them a bit and make them fit into the texture area, just so we get. Alright, now if we close this and we look, we can see that now we have one line. Alright, but we want this line to be along these faces, not along the poles, because if we're doing it along the poles, we're not doing anything new. So to fix that, we go back into the hypershade, select the ramp, under VRamp, now just select URamp. You're going to see this will add a URamp on the middle of the surface, and now it's going through the faces that we want them to go. Again, we can go into the ramp and tweak this to get the thickness that we're going for. Alright, now let's test this out and see how we're going to make the hair grow only on the white part. So to do that, select the hair, the V-Ray fur, go under Pilly Mesh V-Ray fur properties, scroll down to the end of it, and you're going to find a slot called density texture. You're going to drag the ramp to and drop it into the density texture, not like this, sorry. Select this one, scroll down and drag it on top of the density texture. Immediately we can see the changes happening into the viewport. So now you can see we don't have any hair here, not at all. We have the only area where the hair is growing is on the white line. Now if we go to the panels, render camera, we see the hair is only on the edges. Now we can go ahead and tweak the ramp to get the look that we're going for. So if you want the hair to grow a bit, we can see it more from the camera, just move the black color. Again, the same. Alright, now select the Pilly Mesh, go into the textures and select the Pilly shader. Right click, assign material to selection. Alright, and now if we open up the render and do a test render. Alright, let's make sure we're rendering the correct camera. Alright, now we can see that we have, if we zoom in, we can see that the hair is now growing only on the edges of the sphere. So now we can go ahead and tweak the hair so we can get a lot more fur per face. So just go ahead and select the hair, and now under the V-Ray fur properties, where we have per face, just go ahead and add 20 per face. And now if we go ahead and do another render, alright, now you can see we do have a lot of hair, and this is growing only on the edges just because we added that mask to the density shader. And feel free to make these as long or as short as you want them. Now in the next lesson, we'll start adding some lights to the scene and do a couple of final touches to the nucleus and the cell membrane shaders.